What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another video with your boy Young Homie TC. So today we're doing something a little more different. We're reacting to a video titled
What goes on inside the mind of a racist?
What exactly is going on inside the mind of someone who is racist? What do racist people actually think and believe that makes them discriminate against others based on race, especially against black people? They rarely see themselves as villains. Most believe they're just being realistic, protecting their group, or stating obvious facts. So what is the psychology of racism really like? In this video, we're going deep into the psychology of racism, exploring the hidden thoughts and mental shortcuts that fuel it, when and where racism has been at its absolute worst, including against black people, who tends to engage in it the most, what science has uncovered about why people become racist, and most importantly, how research shows we can actually reduce it and eventually end it. Stick around, because the answers might surprise you, and they could change how you see the world. Let's start with the basics of what racists think. According to decades of psychological research, racism isn't usually about outright evil. It's often rooted in normal brain processes that get twisted by culture and experience. Social identity theory, developed by psychologist Henri Tajfel in the 1970s, explains a big part of it. People naturally divide the world into us versus them to boost their own self-esteem. Even in lab experiments with totally made-up groups, participants quickly favor their in-group and discriminate against the out-group. When race gets added, especially black versus white, that same mechanism turns into real prejudice. Racists often believe deeply in hierarchies, that some groups, like white people, are naturally superior in intelligence, work ethic, or morality, while others, like...
And then they view other races in tiers, like... And that's what I've been trying to tell y'all, bro. And other races that get looked down on by white people, right? They think this way too, bro. They view themselves in a hierarchy of tiers. Like, they don't view themselves on the top because they all want to be assimilated into the white man, right? But then they view everybody down. They view their own race as, you know, as I don't know what the word is. Like, it's not coming to mind. But they view their own race like they're nothing, right? And they view other races like they're nothing. And then they view themselves as better because they trying to identify as white. And it's sad, bro. Like, it's sad.
This mindset is strongly linked to social dominance orientation, a personality trait where people prefer strict social rankings and see inequality as normal or even good. They also score higher on right-wing authoritarianism, craving order and fearing outsiders as threats to their way of life. Many don't feel hate every second. Instead, they use mental shortcuts called stereotypes. Black people are lazy or dangerous, as quick ways to navigate a complex world. Research...
That time, you don't even know that person, and you're just looking at him like, oh.
Just by how he looks, I know he's up to no good. Like, bro could have just been a regular dude, bro.
And they be doing the same thing with the little black kids, bro. They'll see a black young man who might be 15, and then they view that black young man as if he was a criminal, as if he already committed crimes, as if he already did all the other stuff that, you know, their stereotypes are based off, bro.
That's like, damn, bro. That's an innocent young man, bro. Innocent young man who hasn't done anything for real. His life has just started, bro. He's growing up, and you already view him. You already are forcing him to be a villain in your mind, like.
Shows these beliefs often come from personal insecurity, lack of empathy for outsiders, or a defensive need to protect their own group's image. They project their fears onto black people and convince themselves their views are just common sense. But where did this all begin? The psychology of racism as we know it today is surprisingly modern. Before the 1500s, people had prejudices based on religion, tribe, or culture, but the idea of race as a fixed biological hierarchy was invented during European exploration and the transatlantic slave trade. Europeans needed...
They wanted the... Bro, the thing about that whole thing is racism was there because they wanted there to be a reason for them to be doing the stuff that we're doing. Because imagine if they were doing that stuff to other white people, then it's going to be like, damn.
Why are they taking it this far against, you know, their own people? But they had to be like, no, we have to take these guys and take them out of the whole thing of being human and view them as lesser humans for us to do what we want to do to them. And it's messed up, bro. It's genuinely messed up.
Moral excuse to enslave millions of Africans.
See, he literally said it.
By the 1700s and 1800s, scientific racism took over, ranking white Europeans at the top and black Africans at the bottom. Early psychologists even joined in, calling black people childlike or inferior. This wasn't fringe thinking. It shaped laws and science for centuries. Racism hit its most extreme peaks in the 19th and 20th centuries. In the United States, after slavery ended in 1865, Jim Crow laws from the 1890s through the 1960s enforced legal segregation, lynching, and second-class status specifically for black Americans. Across the ocean, Nazi Germany from 1933 to 1945 turned racial pseudoscience into the Holocaust. South Africa's apartheid system from 1948 to 1994 created an entire legal structure of racial separation between white and black people that lasted even longer than Jim Crow.
It's crazy,
These were times
bro.
when ordinary people, not just extremists, enforced racism against black people because their leaders framed it as natural, scientific, and necessary for survival. The psychology here was clear. When power structures reward in-group loyalty and punish empathy, normal people can commit horrific acts while believing they're doing the right thing. So where is racism strongest today? Global surveys paint a complicated picture. A 2025 Pew Research study across dozens of countries found a median of 34% of adults say racial or ethnic discrimination is a very big problem, with the highest concerns in sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, Turkey, India, and parts of Asia. In the United States, while explicit bias against black people has dropped sharply since the civil rights era, many Americans still say black people face at least some discrimination. The same in-group favoritism appears everywhere, but the difference is power. Majorities tend to direct it against minorities like black communities. Who actually does the most racism? Science says it's not just one type of person. Anyone can fall into it under the right conditions. But certain traits make it more likely, especially toward black people. People high in social dominance orientation or authoritarian tendencies are more prone to racist beliefs because they need clear hierarchies and fear change.
You see how he's always saying, especially towards black people, bro? That tells you everything you need to know, bro. Like, it's always especially towards us. Hispanic people, you know, they might be living their lives, but guess who they look down on? Us. Asian people, they might be living their lives, but guess who they look down on? Us. It's always us, bro. Everybody always wants to look down on somebody, and they always look down on Indian people too, bro. Everybody views us as less than them, and it's like, why? Because a white man said so? Or is it because you want to be like the white man? I'm just saying, bro.
Many racists come from environments with little intergroup contact, where stereotypes about black people go unchallenged. Importantly, they don't always see their actions as racist.
Like, if you go into some of these European countries, you saw what they were doing to Speed, bro. Calling this nigga a monkey and stuff, like, bro. And it's because I don't want to say they don't know no better, but they don't know no better, bro. They don't know no better, bro.
Research shows they often justify it as protecting culture, economic realism, or reverse discrimination against their own group. The psychology of racism reveals it's learned, not inevitable. Babies show own race preferences by 3 months based purely on what they see around them, and those biases grow through family, media, and segregated spaces. The good news? The same research that explains why people become racist also shows how it ends. The most powerful tool is the intergroup contact.
And that one about babies, bro, I can talk about this because this literally happened yesterday, bro. I'm in a store, minding my business, right? And it's a grandma and her granddaughter, I'm assuming. A little baby, I think around the ages of like 2, 3. Probably like, yeah, around the ages of 2, 3. Just a toddler, right? Tell me why that little girl saw me, acknowledged me, and you know, it made me feel some type of good inside, because it's like, damn, like, you can generally see the innocence of the youth, bro. You can see the innocence. They don't view by race, they don't view by any of that. She just saw a human being and wanted to say hi. She just saw a human being and wanted to say hi. Let that sink in, bro. She just saw a human being and wanted to say hi. But then I bet you that's the same little girl, bro. God forbid it. I bet you the same little girl, if she's put into the wrong conditions, bro, them highs to black people gonna stop within the next 3 years, honestly. I'm just saying, bro.
Hypothesis, backed by over 500 studies. When people from different races, especially white and black, interact as equals with shared goals in schools, workplaces, sports teams, or even online, prejudice drops significantly. Anxiety decreases, empathy rises, and stereotypes lose their power.
And this is
In
what
the
we
US,
need, bro.
Project Implicit data shows implicit anti-black / pro-white bias has fallen 26% from 2007 to 2020 thanks to changing norms and more contact. Interventions like prejudice habit-breaking training.
But I'm not gonna lie, social media is kind of messing it up, though. Y'all, like, you know, we're looking at stats, but I'm not gonna lie, social media is kind of messing it up because it's making people feel like it's okay to be racist in comments. And when I say social media is ruining it, like, we just seen it with Ched the Builder, bro. And we saw how many people were rallying behind that nigga. They were all like, yes, he's right, he's right. You chimping out. Like, bro, that says a lot about you, bro. Until you see somebody big, not even big and bad, bro.
Until you see somebody willingly doing that stuff and embarrassing himself in public, that's the only time you want to get on that bandwagon of hating, which means you're truly a weak ass individual, a weak little bitch, honestly. Because the only time that that means this whole time you were thinking that stuff, but just because Chud got on there and was a voice for you, now you want to go out and now voice your opinions. That's why you didn't voice your opinion this whole time, bro.
People to catch and replace biased thoughts in the moment. Systemic changes matter too. Desegregation policies, diverse education, and fair institutions weaken the structures that feed racism against black people and others. Here's the hopeful reality from psychology. Racism isn't hardwired into our DNA for modern racial categories. It's a habit built on ancient survival wiring for coalitions and threats, but it's incredibly malleable. Explicit bias against black people has already plummeted in many places. Implicit bias is shifting too. When societies invest in real contact and honest conversations about history and power, racism shrinks. The psychology of racism shows us it's not about bad people, it's about ordinary minds shaped by history and systems, especially in places like the US where black-white tensions have been so heavily studied. But ordinary people, armed with contact, awareness, and evidence-based strategies, are already dismantling it.
Exactly.
What do you think happens in the racist mind now that you know the science, especially when it comes to bias against black people?
I appreciate it for zapping in as always. Stay tuned, tapped in, and pray, bro. Because without God, you ain't doing nothing. Safety.